representing the National Farmers Union, Minette Batters. Hi, it's good to see you. President, of course. Hi, you're going to Downing Street.
I certainly am.
Oh, tell us about what's going to happen. What do you want to achieve from that meeting?
So I think it's really significant. This was a commitment by the Prime Minister on the campaign trail back in August. We actually wrote an open letter asking for a commitment to domestic food security. We've got 70 million people living here on an island nation. Food security matters. And so he committed to it then, and I'm delighted that he's actually doing it. Now, everybody will have experienced at some stage, either not being able to buy eggs or the rationing of salad ingredients. Indeed, eggs still quite a big issue. We had 1 billion less eggs produced last year compared to 2019. And these are sort of staples, household staples that people just want to be able to buy 24/7. So it's very much looking at how we give producers the confidence to keep making these big investments. So fairness in the supply chain, dealing with resilience, how we produce effectively more of what we're good at here.
One of the extra complications, of course, with eggs was bird flu, and not as many eggs were produced as a result. But what can the Prime Minister actually do?
The one thing the Prime Minister can do is to bring the whole of government together. So we very much work with DEFRA, but also there are huge issues, obviously, in the Home Office, with access to people, with trade, with business. And this is an opportunity to bring everybody together to look at how we deal with these huge issues of inflationary costs that everybody will be facing into. And, of course, the farmers that I represent, 47,000 farmers and growers across the country, who are facing 50% cost inflation of their inputs. So we've got to drive down inflation costs. We've said for a long time that actually for poultry producers and for growers, they ought to be able to access the ETII scheme. That's the energy intensive scheme. At least then they know their energy costs, certainty on labour and workforce, of course. So we've got to drill down on cost of inflation in production in order to make sure that food is affordable for consumers. And it's there.
Let's drill down on labour a bit more. Should we labour from Europe? Should they be allowed to come in? Should we relax the rules so that they can come in to pick fruit and vegetables and others?
So this has been a huge, huge issue. And when we were members of the European Union, we were the preferred country to work in out of all member states. People wanted to come here, most of all, because it's highly regulated, it's well paid. And of course, that freedom of movement has ended. So now these visa schemes, we are bringing people in from very challenging parts of the world. In some cases, there's a lot of cost attached to coming here. And last year, as an example, with the crops, the fruit and vegetables and flowers, we wasted £60 million worth of high-quality fruit and vegetables. So it's really important that we have a seasonal workers scheme that runs for 9 months of the year. The current one's for 6 months. We know who's coming here. We know when they go back again. But we can be under no illusions that this is challenging and this is costly. And government continues to talk about low-skilled work. Picking our fruit and vegetables is highly skilled. And we need to, I think, recognise the value of these jobs if we're going to inspire a UK workforce to want to do them. So we need to really focus, I think, on the skill sets that we need in this country.
Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, is saying, well, you don't need to bring people in to do those jobs. We've got enough Brits here to do them.
We simply do not have enough people unemployed at the moment to do the jobs that are available. And as I said, we've actively incentivised people out of doing these jobs into going to university, upskilling, don't do low-skilled jobs. I think we've really got to value these jobs because they are absolutely essential to our everyday lives. So, not everybody wants to go to university. If we are going to change our ambition for what we want in this country, if we're going to grow our own workforce effectively, then we need to inspire people that actually these are great jobs, and this is about a progressive ladder that you can climb with job opportunities, better use of apprenticeship levy and all of those sorts of things. It's no good to keep saying it's low-skilled, it's unimportant. It's highly important and it's high-skilled.
Do we have to accept that food prices are going to be more expensive?
I think there's a real challenge when you look at what has happened. We have had the most affordable food in Europe for a very long time. We still do have the most affordable food here per income spend, and we're the third most affordable in the entire world. So that's really good for consumers. But these costs, this war in Ukraine, is a game changer, I think. And food prices have been very low for a very long time. I think that's been challenging for everybody in the supply chain. for farmers and growers, all they want is a fair return for what they are doing. And for any business, if it is costing you more than you can sell it for, obviously you're going to contract, which is why we're seeing the lowest level of tomatoes, cucumbers, why we had 1 billion less eggs last year. So we've got to find ways of having a food policy, a plan that actually deals with the things the market doesn't want to pay for, that eases the cost of inflation, that means that we can keep producing more, because I think the weather events that we're facing into, Morocco in the early part of the year, everybody faced rationing of salads. We've got a great climate here. And fundamentally, above all else, the summit today should be about really being positive about our own production. It's the largest manufacturing sector, food and drink, and farming being probably the last and remaining primary manufacturing sector, goes right across the country. So I hope today is a real change of agenda from government, and that we'll have it annually every year.
Now, it's something that your members won't particularly want, as we know, but, the Prime Minister would say in response, meat is going up, it's doubled in price. He's done a deal to make sure that lamb can come from the other side of the world. Why is it still so much more expensive?
So we've had 3 different Prime Ministers, all with completely different priorities. So Australia and New Zealand were going to be fully liberalised deals in 15 years' time. The Trans-Pacific deal, which Rishi Sunak has led on with Kemi Badenoch, has been a different approach, with recognising sensitive sectors. But as you rightly say, a lot of the damage is done with a fully liberalised policy. So it's going to be, I think, challenging going forwards. But the British public have been incredibly loyal to buying British. They recognise the challenges of climate change, of wanting to buy local. Every retailer I speak to says all of our consumers say, we want to buy British, we want to buy local, food miles matter. So, trade is a good thing, but you have to balance how you're trading. You have to make sure you have the same values for other countries that you have here. If you don't, you just undermine your own production here. It doesn't matter whether that's cars, whether that's furniture, whether that's food. You want to have a common approach.
Have you been to Downing Street before?
I have. I met with the Prime Minister just before Christmas.
Okay.
And I have met with previous Prime Ministers there as well. But this is the first time we've had a summit that brings everybody together. So I hope that will last and happen every year.